Big 550 KTRS, one of the leaders in the community, and we like to get all voices on the air, and we're thrilled that he's back with us here on the Big 550 KTRS. He's president of the St. Louis City chapter of the NAACP, Adolphus Pruitt. Adolphus, welcome back.
Hey, how you doing?
You got it. Let's talk about this Justice for Journey, this Journey for Justice March, which just finished up. What was the idea and what happened?
You know, we reached a point where there had to be at least a change in the dialogue and bring some attention to some of the real reforms that need to happen. And actually, those reforms are going to have to happen in Jefferson City
Right.
more than any place else other than on the federal side. And that is finding a way to hold police officers, at least those who are falling astray to some degree, hold them accountable. So some sort of regulatory side as relates to racial profiling. The existing bill is on the books. It's not necessarily. It's one of the best bills in the country, we believe, but it doesn't have any teeth in it. So trying to put some teeth in the existing racial profiling bill was one of the issues. Supporting and pushing for civilian review boards that actually work and have the ability to bring some sort of community input into discipline of police officers as relates to use of force and things of that nature was another one. And then, of course, the Missouri use of force statute is out of date, is technically unconstitutional, and we just think the legislature need to fix it. With the session about to start in the next couple of weeks or so, it was time to focus attention on what can happen at the state level. But a lot of other things came out of that march.
Yeah. The journey itself, though, was quite interesting because you ran into Redwood. Was not a nice stop for you, was it?
No, Rosebud.
I'm sorry,
oh,
Rosebud.
My God. Yeah, I brought you some photos.
Tell us what happened.
You know, let me put it this way. It is extremely, what we found extremely interesting was that when we crossed 270, we started to hear the racial taunts. We started to get the gestures. There's a finger that I've seen that finger and had it done to me more over the last week.
There are people driving by saying you're number one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Kids in the car. All of that, believe it or not, it started west of 270, and it only intensified the further west we got going to Jefferson City, and I guess it hit a crescendo in Rosebud. We sent the buses through first, and the crowd surrounded the bus, started yanking on the mirrors of the bus, pushing the bus. The sheriff departments and the state troopers had to physically remove the crowd from away from the bus so the bus could get through. And somehow doing all of that, once the bus got on the other side, the driver got out to check out the bus, and the back window had 3 small holes in it. And he assumed it were bullet holes or pellet gun. 3 holes, and the whole window was shattered. And actually, a mile down the road, once we took off with the bus, all of the glass fell out. But we sent the bus through first.
Well, that's good. You don't want to go through first.
Yeah. Well, the road was so small that we said, let's get the bus out there. And then as we walked through the town, well, I guess you can imagine a couple of hundred people on each side of the street. And you're hearing everything. We reached a point where they drew a silhouette in the ground, and they had a beer bottle, a watermelon, and some chicken bones. And that's the first thing you come. That's the first thing you come past, and then you run into a lady holding up a sign. And this is the first thing we see. One of the first things to see, and the sign reads, "All of this for one dead N-word."
That's just
now
shameful.
It is. There's no question. However, let me ask you this question. I put these people who did this in the same category as the people who set the stores on fire.
Absolutely right.
So it's the extreme and the minority. This the extreme minority, right? The very few on the fringe are clouding the issues and the airwaves and the oxygen, so the rest of us that are very close together can't sit down and have a conversation and fix our problems.
You absolutely, listen, I agree with you 100%. We must be cousins.
I'm going to use that line, by the way.
No, but I mean, I agree with you. Of course, because one other thing, everywhere along the way, we ran into people and white people who would come out, greet us, walk with us, bring us refreshments, bring us donuts, coffee, lunch, everywhere. So no matter where we saw the negativity, there was always a ray of sunshine to pop out. But what it told us was that, you're absolutely right, what it told us was that the reason why we're going to have a big problem, maybe, with bringing the reforms we need to the table, first and foremost, is because those folks that are represented out there by elected officials, those elected officials are not necessarily going to be in a hurry to make decisions that's contrary to what we ran into in Rosebud and other places, and they make up the majority of both the House and the Senate. So that was sort of a wake-up call. But the other one was this, and we really have to get this point across, is that, and the governor brought it up in our meeting with him, until we reach a point where we quit talking past each other and quit shouting at each other and sit down and have a collective dialogue and try to reach a middle ground, we're never going to resolve this issue.
There's never going to be legislation that's going to fix those people.
No.
There's never going to be legislation that's going to fix the people who want to set the world on fire. So it's dependent upon us to sort of change our ways, to figure out, to listen to one another, and so on and so forth. But one of the things that I think lots of people agree on is this bill that they want to pass down in Jefferson City, or some do, about the tickets, right? You want to limit the tickets in North County. You want to make these towns not live off the money derived by the fees and the tickets and all that. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? Where do you come down on that?
Well, I agree with it, but I think it needs to go a little bit further. And I know there's a bill being floated around to actually restructure some of those municipalities. There's a couple of them out there, and there's one even to deal with the courts. At the end of the day, they're going to have to take that ability for those municipalities to have all of those small courts away from them.
So you agree?
Yeah, we need to take them away from them. We had the St. Louis County court system, and if it's not big enough, then we can set up some regional court districts out there. But there's no need for 25 different municipal courts, and so we need to take it away from them. Even though I agree that the bills and the lawsuit that's being filed is going to be helpful, at the end of the day, there still shouldn't be 25, 30, or 40 different courts in one county. It just doesn't make sense.
And so with so many people agreeing on that one issue, right? I mean, there's a lot of work to be done to build trust, to build a place to come and talk, to have conversations. We can all agree that that's the one, at least one legislative bill that might be able to at least solve some of the problems. Are you hopeful that bill will get passed?
Yes, I'm hopeful that something similar to it, if not it in its entirety, will occur. I'm hopeful that there's a lot of things that are going to occur that will come out the legislature that will address a lot of the issues that we now call Ferguson. One
more thing while we have you here, and you have to come back on the show more than not. Sure. We need to see you, and we need your voice on here more often. And that is this. The local grand jury spoke. Bob McCullough spoke. The feds are looking at the civil rights issue. Now, the civil rights issue about Ferguson and the makeup of the region, that's going to take longer. But Senator Blunt made a point that, hey, the Fed should at least release their findings on the shooting. It shouldn't take this long for the feds to come down on what they think happened in that shooting, and shouldn't the feds release the information as soon as they're done with it, and shouldn't they be done with it if this local grand jury was done with it? What are your thoughts there?
I disagree wholeheartedly. We were been involved with the feds and and even provide access to witnesses and all of that. Let me say it this way. There were tons of stuff thrown in front of a grand jury, including 60 some odd witnesses.
Right.
Some of the facts and the people, the prosecutor knew ahead of time that their information was not credible.
Mm-hmm.
And that got thrown in. And so now somebody needs to sort through all of that and make sure that we are looking at and considering only the credible, relevant.
Right, but that doesn't take. That takes. How long does that take?
It takes as long as it takes if you're going to get it right.
Tavon Martin. 3 years. The Justice Department hasn't ruled on that case either. Are you willing to say 3, 4, 5 years?
This won't be 3 or 4, 5 years. I'm confident that.
How long do you think it should take?
I doubt if it takes another 6 months. It's going to be 6 months or less.
6 months or less.
I think it's going to be 6 months or less.
So we're coming up on a year then.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 6 months or less.
Adolphus Pruitt, president of the St. Louis City NAACP website for the organization. NAACP, St. Louis NAACP.org. There you go. Adolphus, have a good week. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
You got it. 8:51, Big 550.